Stu Holden, and he's joining us live from Moscow. Stu, hello, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Jenna, Nick, Chris, how are you guys? Good morning, good afternoon. I'm actually forgetting what it is these days. We have done, I think, 24 flights in 27 days, 7 cities, 17 games. But it's all about the big one on Sunday, and we can't wait for it here.
You haven't done his work with Cris, and so it sort of matches up even to everything you just said. Hey, look, we are very, very excited for it. We're excited about Croatia, a young team, a team that hasn't really been on this stage in France. It's been a long time since they have been here. What can we expect from this game on Sunday?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. I mean, much like the semifinals, I expect this game to be probably a one-goal game either way. This French team is the second youngest in the tournament. They went to the finals of the European Championships in 2016, and they lost. And everyone said, well, that's going to be an experience for them that's going to help them coming into the World Cup here in Russia. And it has. They find themselves in a final again. And this young team, and we were trying to figure out probably the rough value of this roster. I think it's about $1.5 billion in terms of the global soccer market. So to say that there's expectations within this team and you have a world superstar in Kylian Mbappe, I put them as the slight favorite. But I don't want to write off this Croatian team. I mean, this is a team that has some great players, but nobody picked to be in the final. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 people had them in their bracket, but I have to see that to believe it because they were a team that barely qualified. They had a new coach who took over right before the World Cup, and they find themselves in their first World Cup final and a chance to bring home a World Cup trophy for a country of only 4 million people. It would be a pretty unprecedented thing for them to do that.
How can Croatia slow down Mbappe, who has been the breakout star of this tournament for people that don't necessarily follow international soccer on a day-to-day basis, and the rest of that dangerous French attack?
Nick, it's an interesting one. And if people don't know the name Kylian Mbappe yet, you should get to know him because if we talk about global superstars, and I know the two that everyone knows are Ronaldo and Messi, Kylian Mbappe is going to be that next guy. He's 19 years old. I was a college freshman at Clemson University, just dreaming of playing professional soccer. And this is a guy at 19. He was sold for $250 million last year to Paris Saint-Germain. He's played in some really big games, and he has been a revelation in this tournament. He's really announced himself to the world. But you have to get that trophy. People still talk about Ronaldo and Messi not having won a World Cup trophy. If he wins one at 19 years old, he fully puts himself in that upper echelon of talent. Now, for Croatia to stop him, it's going to be tough. They might be missing their starting left back. They're going to have to do that almost by a number of different players shuffling over to that side, stopping him getting on the ball, and most of all, stopping that incredible speed that we've seen in this tournament.
Stuart, let's look at Croatia from a defensive standpoint. We know they're going to be challenged. Are you concerned about the overall endurance or fatigue that Croatia might be facing? No team has played the extra minutes like them. Will that have an effect on the final?
Yeah, Chris, I think we worked it out. I mean, they've played 3 games in extra time now in the knockouts, which is an entire game more than France have played in this tournament. And I remember talking to Nick actually a little while ago on the radio about the left side of the bracket and being, you know, the Frances, the Belgiums, the Brazils. And Croatia have come through this right side, but it's almost been an undercard boxing fight in every single match. And it has taken a lot out of this team. But do not write this group off. This is a group of warriors that seem to enjoy that. And they have a player in Luka Modric that towards the end of these games, he might have been playing 110, 115 minutes. I think he's played close to 60-plus matches this entire season. And still, this guy has, I think, ran almost 39 miles in this tournament. So this is a group, no matter what, if there's tired legs, if there's fatigue, it is a World Cup final. There is no bigger game in our sport. And if that's not something that'll get you going and push those tired legs out the window, I don't know what would.
We talk a lot about the offense and how important guys like Mbappe are going to be. But let's talk about the goaltending for a little bit. Which goaltender of the 2 teams would you pick in a winner-take-all?
Both of these goalkeepers have had sensational tournaments. And actually, Subasic from Croatia, I remember the game against Russia, he pulled his hamstring in the second half of the game after they were completely out of substitutes. Everyone thought, well, could he continue? Does he have to come out of the game? Well, he stayed in the game. They went to penalty kicks. He made a save. He became the hero. But if I'm picking one goalkeeper that I want in this game, I want Hugo Lloris. He's a goalkeeper we see with Tottenham Hotspur. He's been on the world's biggest stage. He's the leader of this French team. And what we have seen with both of these goalkeepers, and it's close, I would go with Lloris only just. but that they have come up for their teams when they have needed them most. When they need a save, they have these great attacking teams, but when you know your goalkeeper to step up, they have both produced the good. So fascinating matchup, and I think one of these goalkeepers will come up the hero in this game on Sunday.
Listen, Stu, I know that Mbappe's been the story of this tournament, but going into the tournament, I think if you ask people who follow France, they would have pointed to the defensive midfield as maybe one of their strengths. And Pogba, along with Conte is the player I was forgetting. How can they be effective? What do they need to do against Croatia's attack?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, Conte has been sensational. He's probably about 5'4", but that guy covers more ground. He runs around. He tackles. He has been one of the best players in the tournament. And I think, Nick, it comes down to having the offense be your best form of defense. And I think that's going to be key for Croatia. If they can dominate and they can have the ball and they can force France to come back, that's going to make these guys work a lot harder, and then they can't get forward the same type of way. So Pogba is so good because he can defend, but yet these late runs into the box. He creates, he gets the ball to Mbappe. But if you're forcing him to chase back the other way, it really physically tires you out. And I think that's one area where Croatia can really dominate the game and where I think they have their two best players in Rakitic and Modric.
Stu, I know this is young in your career. I know you're looking forward to calling the World Cup, the greatest World Cup ever. But which player's legacy can be defined the most by a tremendous performance in the World Cup in Russia?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I was edging towards initially Kylian Mbappe because I think, he's a 19-year-old, and for him to, announce himself by winning a World Cup trophy and taking France to win their first trophy since 1998, it would be an incredible achievement. But I'm looking at Luka Modric. I was a midfielder as a player, so, I always have a little bit of a soft spot for guys like that continue to get overlooked as far as the best players in the world because it's much like basketball and football. We seem to favor the quarterbacks. We favor the Ronaldos and the Messis and the goal scorers, and we glorify these guys. But I think if Luka Modric, he's coming off the back of 3 consecutive Champions League trophies for Real Madrid, and if he was to lead his country of 4 million people to win a World Cup against all of the odds, I think that would put him down in terms of our game and our history as one of the greatest midfielders of all time.
We've been talking so much about how great this World Cup has been, Stu. Can you just put it in perspective to us? I mean, you got a chance to be there and call it. We've been able to watch it as fans, and I think we're all a little disappointed when the Americans weren't in it. But this has been a phenomenal tournament. Put in perspective how good this run's been.
Yeah, it really has, and I'm glad that's also come back across the air because we as broadcasters, and media, we get to enjoy these tremendous sporting events. But then when you're actually here and you're in the stadiums, actually one of my most fun parts of this trip is being in airports. And I told you guys we've done 24 flights, I think, but 7 a.m., overnight flights, being amongst Colombian fans, turning on the music, dancing around the baggage claim, Argentine fans turning up in the tens of thousands outside their team's hotel to sing and to will them on and say, we know you guys haven't been playing well, but we are behind you. And you just realize once again that this is the world's biggest sport. This is the world's biggest sporting event. And to really feel that passion and have the excitement of the underdogs and ultimately end up in a final where you don't have a Brazil, you don't have an Argentina, you don't have a Germany, but you have France against Croatia, a chance for Croatia to win their first ever World Cup trophy. I just can't wait. And honestly, as a broadcaster, it makes it easier for us because the energy is so good and we just let the picture speak and we try to live up to these great moments. And hopefully we get another great game on Sunday.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.